This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba for another technical diving tips, techniques, and trips video.
Hello divers! In this video, I'll be discussing some gear updates. These are updates to gear that was originally introduced in a previous video on the channel. I will also be discussing some ongoing shop programs, including a giveaway. So please stay tuned to the end of the video.
So last year I released a video on what I called a technical diving computer console, and since then it has actually grown into at least one more application, and so I'd like to review some of the things that I've learned from using this technical diving console. So again, I've been keeping this in the 1060 Pelican case, and I also find this case very handy in many cases. What I do if I leave my glasses on the boat, when I take my computer out, I replace my computer on my wrist, and what I do is I put my glasses in there. A lot of other times I'll actually take my glasses with me. There's a video on that, what to do with your glasses while you're diving, and in that case of course I don't use this. I use a waterproof canister. Alright, so here is the technical diving console, what I'm calling the technical diving console, and for those of you that haven't seen it, in the video that I released originally on this, I actually showed how to make this whole thing. And this is a piece of plastic called Kydex, which is thermal molded, and you can heat this up and mold it to your arm. And then over here, what I have is there's still some water in here from my last dive. I have a tube with two rubber stoppers on the end, and what this contains is it contains different batteries for the Shearwater Perdix, and it also has batteries for the transmitter. These should be like CR2 batteries. So I keep a couple of those and a couple of the SAFT batteries in reserve in this tube. Since it has stoppers on there and the tube is one piece, it's very waterproof. So let's go back to this. Okay, so I have learned several things with the console itself in this particular application, and that is I tried to make it a little bit narrower at one point so that it would take up less space in my arm, because I did discover that in a dry suit, since I use the Roloc 90 dry suit cuff system, dry glove system, it did interfere a little bit with the wrist ring on one end and my elbow on the other, and so I wanted to make it a little bit smaller if possible. And so what I discovered was there is a physical limit to how small you can make this, because when you're going to try to stick your, I'm going to turn this around, when you try to stick your finger in here to change the buttons, okay, you need to have enough clearance for your finger in the dry glove. So there's really no way to reduce this less than about an inch or so. So what that does mean is that there is a minimum size to this. So then the other thing that I noticed was that even if you have to have it of a certain size, that you can minimize the interference if you have short arms like I do. You can minimize the interference if you highly radius the corners here. So by highly radiusing the corners, it's less likely to impede me bending my elbow. So the radiusing and the sizing are two things that I've been working on, and I really don't think I can get it any smaller than this. This is kind of interesting because I was actually in Cozumel back in May, and somebody saw me with this on my wrist just before the boats were departing, and so they came up to me and asked me how they could get one of these, and I directed them to the video that showed them how to make one. I haven't heard back from them since, so I don't know if they've actually done that or not. But I found this very, very useful for keeping my computers in the same place for technical diving. Actually use the same setup for recreational diving as well. All right, so let's talk about the change in the application that I've had at least in one case. So there was an individual who had a Peregrine shearwater computer, and of course that does not have a compass. And of course, many people prefer an analog compass anyway. So if I didn't have two computers on here, I might have an analog compass instead. All right, so what this individual wanted to do was he wanted to mount a Peregrine computer on one side, and he wanted to mount a analog computer on the other side. And so I was able to do that. Same concept. The difference is that one was a little smaller because you don't need as much real estate for the compass as you need to do for the Perdix. So you can mount other things on there as well besides just computers. The only thing that you have to adjust in that case is you would have to adjust the spacings of the holes that you use for the wire ties in order to secure the compass. And the Perdix, of course, has different dimensions than the Peregrine does as well. I've also, I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous video, but I've also taken to installing some non-skid, non-abrasive non-skid on the inside of the Kydex, just in order to make the console less slippery. Particularly, I think if someone were to use if they were to use a shorty rather than a full wetsuit. But I always dive in a full wetsuit, so this just provides some additional security in preventing it from rotating. So this console, I've been using this for a while now, and I'm very satisfied with its performance in terms of doing things. The one limitation that I do have experienced is that in order to change the battery on this computer, the leftmost computer, you do have to cut the two wire ties here and then flip the right computer over so you have access to the battery compartment here. So when you change your battery, you're going to have to cut the wire ties and put new wire ties on when you put it back in. Since I use the SAFT batteries, that is not very often. I've gotten as much as 150 to 200 hours off of the SATF battery in the low illumination mode, and so that is not something that I have to do very often. I do usually change them anyway before any big trip. So, for example, I changed the batteries recently as we're going to do our Egyptian liveaboard, and also we're going to be diving the Blue Hole Arch, the Divers Graveyard in Dahab here in the next couple of weeks. So I have changed the batteries for that recently. All right, so those are some of the things that I wanted to cover related to updates with the technical diving computer console.
So the next gear update involves the piece of equipment that I have affixed to my utility pouch, which I have on all my plate and wing rigs. And as the original video indicated, what I've done here is I've taken a set of Wetnotes and I have sewed them onto the front of the utility pocket. So this is a regular set of Wetnotes in that I have the different pages in the notebook that I can write in. I'm going to take this out temporarily here. And I can use this as a conventional set of Wetnotes by just pulling this out of here and then writing whatever I need to. And so what I've discovered in this is that I can take this while I'm doing a dive, and if I want to check my deco plan or my notes, I can just take this and I can flip this up and I can read it very easily without having to worry about pulling my Wetnotes out of my pocket. And so the particular thing that is good here is the use of the plan inside the front vinyl window here. So what I've been doing with this is I have been creating my deco plan, for example, in the notebook here, and rather than having to cut the page out or pull the page out and then put it in the front pocket of the window, what I'm doing is I'm using a separate piece of plastic, a plastic slate, in order to copy the dive plan on here. So as you see, I have depth, time, run time, and activity here. This is typically what I have, and I actually have enough space to put a divider down the middle and have the initial part of the dive plan here, and then the last part of the dive plan here. And then when I flip it around and I'm actually using it in use, I can then just flip it up like that and I can easily read it. One of the things that I discovered with this is just a regular piece of white plastic, is that if you want the mechanical pencil, this type here, to write well on it, you must abrade the plastic so that there's a bite that you can get the drawing from the lead or the writing on the lead to be able to get on there. And then of course you can clean it off with a Mr. Magic Erase or with some Comet or any other abrasive method to clean it off when you're ready. So the big thing is I don't have to destroy my original dive plan in my Wetnotes, so I can have those there and preserve them. The last thing here on this is I have gone through a few iterations as to how to actually keep this closed in use. And so originally what I did was I had a piece of bungee that I also sewed to the side of the utility pouches. And what I've come up with now is the use of this piece of bungee. And those of you that have been looking at the videos will notice that this is the same gear retainer that I have used for my hoses and my bolt snaps. And so the only difference with this is the dimensioning of it. This is much larger than the one that I use for a regular bolt snap. And so this keeps the Wetnotes shut, okay, in case before, in the event that I'm not using them. And it's very easy to pop off and allow me to move this up so I can get a better look at it while I'm actually doing a decompression stop. So I am going to now next talk about the new applications that I've discovered since I made the video on the gear retainers. So for this update, we're going to be talking about the Sergeant Knott's zip cord stoppers, and I have been generically been calling these gear retainers. And so I'm now on my second pack of 100 of these, so I'm finding all kinds of uses for them. So if you haven't seen that video on the gear stopper, there's a little plastic device here, and what you basically do is take a piece of 1/8 inch bungee and stick it down in here and then fold this over and clamp it, and you end up with something like this. So I'm going to talk about what's going on with these here briefly. Alright, so I have made a lot of these, and I think these are 5 inches, and in the video I discussed using them for different things like retaining my redundant bladder inflator, and also for using them for long hose, bolt snaps, things like that. And so I've done some additional things with them that I think I'd like to disseminate that information. So first thing is, it is very difficult to actually make these. You have to use a pair of pliers, a pair of slip joint pliers, in order to clamp them down, in order to secure them. And you have to have everything aligned just right to make sure that it closes properly. So one of the things I did investigate is it possible to use a slightly thinner bungee in order to do that? And so the next smallest size that I was able to find is listed as 2.5 millimeters. And this is much smaller, and it does work and makes it easier to close. But what I did find with this, it doesn't have the same kind of reliability strength-wise as the what the 1/8 inch has. So I've decided to discard this. So I've got, I don't know, about 50 feet of this that I'm not using anymore, and I'm going back to the 1/8 inch. So I have come up with all kinds of different applications for this. in the last couple of months. And one of the applications is to retain the hose, the inflation hose on the BCD. And traditionally, what I think people do for this is that they take a piece of bungee. In this case, I think it's 3/16 bungee, and you tie a knot on it, and then you just cut the ends and burn them. And the issue with this is, the two issues with this is, one, this is kind of difficult to do, and you got to tie the knot. You usually have to use a lot of the material, so you have a lot of waste in order to tie the knot. And then the second thing is, these somehow always seem to, after a period of time, no matter how you tie them or how tight you tie them, they always seem to be able to come done. Okay, so this looked like a potential area for the gear retainers. And so what I've been doing with this is I've been making these. These are a little longer. I think these might be 7 inches. And with the 1/8 inch bungee, it fits very nicely in the Mare's plate in the wings that we use for most of our recreational classes. And this is a much neater application in order to retain the position of the BCD inflator hose. And it does not seem to come apart. I've yet to have one come apart yet, so I think that these are pretty reliable. So this is another one of the applications that I've started doing with the gear retainers, aside of keeping my my Wetnotes closed on my utility pouch. So then a third application that I've been using them for is to control the tacoing on my Rec 45-pound lift bladder. So what I have here is I have my titanium plate and I have my my Rec XT material bladder. And what I used to do was I used to take double-sided Velcro tape and secure it between the tab here on the wing and then on the plate. So what this does is it enables you to use a larger wing, like in this case a 45-pound wing, on a single tank without having any tacoing issues. So by replacing the double-sided Velcro tape in it with one of these gear retainers, it is a much, not necessarily a neater installation, but it is a more reliable installation in that I've never had one of these come off, whereas I've had the double-sided tape come a little bit loose. So this is much better than I think the double-sided tape, and it is also better, more ecologically sound than using, for example, a wire tie, which I did use at the very beginning. Of course, if you take this apart, then you have to cut the wire tie, and then you got to put another wire tie on there. So this is much more ecologically conscious than the wire tie I use. Okay, so this is another application of that. And again, there's a video on using the Dive Right Rec XT model or the EXP model, material model, for use in both single and double tanks. So when I go somewhere, like for example, when we go to Egypt here in another week or so, I'm only going to take one wing with me. So I'm going to use this wing for both if I do any single tank diving and if I do double back mount diving. So I only have to carry one wing. Okay, so yet another application for the gear ties. Okay, and this of course this is the rig where I have the gear retainer on the Wetnotes. So here's another application in our gear update for the gear retainer. A lot of DSMBs come with Velcro closure straps, and the first thing that I do, and I recommend to other people to do, is to completely cut that off. It is not very reliable, and I frequently encounter people that do use the Velcro strap and their DSMB is trailing behind them. And I've seen this both on the dock prior to boarding a diving boat and also underwater. So I suggest, I recommend that the Velcro strap just be cut off and it be replaced with bungee. Alright, so then there are other DSMBs that actually do come with a built-in bungee like this one from the factory, and I subscribe to the thought that 2 is 1 and 1 is none, so this does not fulfill that requirement, and so what I've been doing is I've been usually replacing the bungee, if it does exist on the DSMB originally, replacing it with another type. So that's where our update comes in. So what I've done here is I've taken 2 gear ties, or 2 of these knot stoppers, and I have 2 pieces of bungee here that are connected in the middle by looping them through each other, and then I have a knot here which prevents the bungee from shifting side to side, and then of course the knot stopper on the end. So what you can do is you can grab the knot stopper and you can use it to both put the bungee around it and also to remove the bungee very easily. And so again, the same problem with the bungee that occurred with the inflator hose is that if you have knots, then what happens is that they can occasionally come loose. So there are no knots in this except for the overhand knot in it. So it can't come loose because the ends are tied together with the knot stopper. Okay, so this is yet another application in our update for the use of the gear stopper. Okay, very easy to grab and pull off when you're ready to deploy it. Here's yet another one, another application for this, and this is probably less unusual. All this simply is a lanyard made with a longer piece of 1/8 inch, and you can actually make a very clean installation again, which is the great part about these knot stoppers. So if you have a light or you have a bolt snap, you can just put this through there and then use this as your adjusting lanyard to adjust how much you want your you want it to be tight to your wrist. Okay, so yet another application for the knot stopper. So what this leads me to is, I mentioned earlier in the video that we were going to do a giveaway. More specifically, it's a subscriber giveaway, and right now the channel has 428 or so subscribers. And what I'm going to do is, when the channel reaches 500 subscribers here shortly on, I'm going to make another video officially announcing the implementation of the subscriber giveaway, and I am going to give away a lot of these. Okay, so if you're interested in getting a bunch of these, I'll probably give each person that gets them, like 4 of them, something like that, a sufficient number to be able to use them for different things. I'll be giving them like a little kit with like 4 of these knot stoppers, and also a bunch of bungee like this 1/8 inch bungee, so you can make them to whatever size you want. And I'll probably include maybe a couple of these, 1 or 2 of these cord lock things too, so you can do all kinds of different things. Okay, so once we reach 500, I'll send out a video on the giveaway, and what the way it's probably going to work is that the first so many people that send me an email message, once I make the announcement that we've reached 500, then I'm going to send you one of these kits with the bungee, the stoppers, and the cord blocks. One of the shop programs that we're currently running is we are giving away a free course with the purchase of any complete plate and wing system. The choices that we're offering in this promotion is a videography course, a self-reliant diver course, or a recreational back mount
doubles course.
So to be eligible for one of these courses, all you need to do is purchase a complete plate and wing system, and of course, you must fulfill all of the course prerequisites.
This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba. I hope this video was helpful, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe.